Algebra 2, Chapter 7, Part 1 review. Find all the real square roots. So what do we do here? Yes, we're making a video.
You just put that in the first letter to the 1/2 power.
At the bottom.
Positive or negative, 0.02.
You have to put the positive or negative?
Because it's square root, yeah. When you do cube root, it's just your root, it's whatever sign your number is that you start with. And the next one is 0.03. And what we did was we put that to the 1/3 power. Find the real number root. Square root of 1.69 is 1.3. What about number 4? What about number 4?
I thought you said 1.6.
Can you do number 4?
No, well, it'd be imaginary, but
This one is plus or minus. Yes, Bailey. The next one is no real number. If you did find an answer, it'd be an imaginary answer, and since they're asking for the real root, the imaginaries are not what they're looking for. The next one says simplify the radical expression, use absolute value symbols if needed. The fourth root of all of this, so is 81 something that has a fourth root? Yes. So fourth root of 81. What about x to the 20th? Can you take the fourth root of that? Is the exponent 20 divisible by 4? Okay, that'll work. And the fourth root of y to the 8th. So what is the fourth root of 81? When you put that in your calculator, it's 81 to the 1/4 power. What do we get? 3. X to the 20th over 4. What power will that be? 5th. Y to the 8th over 4 is going to be y squared. Multiply and simplify if possible. Number 6, that's the square root of 12. And can you break that down into another pair of factors so that one of them is a perfect square? And that would be 2 square roots of 3. Number 7, when you multiply those together, you got the fourth root of negative 9. That's what you have. Can you take the fourth root of negative 9? No, not real. Number 8, cube root of 128. Is 128 a number that's on the list of cubes? No. Is there a factor of 128 on the list of cubes? Is there a number that's on the cube list that'll go into 128?
yes, 8.
Okay. Is there a bigger number?
64 probably.
64. Goes in there how many times? Okay. A to the 13th. 13 is not divisible by 3, so I need to break it into parts, and I want the largest part possible that's divisible by 3. So that's a to the 12th and a to the 1st, and then b to the 6th. That's divisible by 3, so I'm okay there. So what is the answer to the cube root of 64? Okay. Does 2 have a cube root? So I'm going to leave it over here. What about a to the 12th? What's the cube root of a to the 12th? A to the 4th. A to the 1st has to stay under here. What's the cube root of b to the 6th? B squared. Number 9 says multiply and simplify. So we're a cube root of 7 times 6 is 42. X to the 7th times x to the 8th is x to the 15th. So the cube root of 42 x to the 15th is 42 a number that has a cube root? does it have a factor that has a cube root? No, there's nothing you can do with the number part. So this is the cube root of 42. What about the cube root of x to the 15th? What are we going to get there? X to the 5th. Okay, number 10, divide and simplify. Cube root of, what is 162 over 2? Divide first and then we'll simplify.
81.
Okay, does 81 have a cube root? Can you break it down so that it does have a cube root? Breaks into 27 and 3, so that is 3 cube roots of 3. We got that one? 11, 400 over 5. What do you get when you divide 400 by 5?
80.
So I'm taking the fourth root of 80. Is 80 a number that has a fourth root? You really want to see a list of the roots. X to the 4th power. Put that in your calculator. Go to your table. This is a list of numbers raised to the 4th power. 80 is my number. Is there a number from this list that'll go into 80? 16. And 16 goes in there how many times? So this is 2 times the 4th root of 5. Questions so far? Okay, 12. Divide and simplify. What is 270 divided by 5?
34.
Okay. What is x to the 20th over x to the 1st? What's 20 minus 1? 19. Okay. Is 54 a cube? No. Can it break into something that is a cube? Okay. Cube root of 27, cube root of 2. Okay, x to the 19th. I need for the exponent to be divisible by 3. So what's the largest exponent I can get from that that's divisible by 3?
18.
Okay. So this is cube root of x to the 18th, cube root of x. So the answer to the cube root of 27 is 3. 2 doesn't have a cube root. Answer to the cube root of 18 is x to the 6th, and the x stays here. Y'all following along with me? Any questions so far? 90 over 2, 45. X to the 18th over x is x to the 17th. Is 45 a number that has a square root? No. What does it break down into? And x to the 16th times x. So the answer here is 3. The 5 stays here. The answer here is x to the 8th, and the x stays here. Rationalize the denominator of the expression. You cannot have a radical in the bottom of the fraction. So what you do is you multiply by 1. You multiply by a ratio that's equal to 1. So they have the same thing in the numerator and the denominator. To figure out what you want those numerators and denominators to be, you want the number that ends up here to have a cube root. So you've got 11, you got to multiply it by something, and we want it to turn out to be a number that's on the list of cubes. If you want to look at a lengthy list of cubes, you can go to your calculator and put x to the third power and then go to the table. Do you think 11 will go into any of these numbers? See if it'll go into 343. No? Do you think it'll go into 1331? I mean, that's 11 cubed. 11 has to go into that one, right? You follow me? Okay. So we want to turn this into whatever you get when you cube 11, which is 1,331. Well, you've got 11 under there. What do you need to multiply it by to get that big number? 121. So we're going to multiply by the cube root of 121 in the numerator and the denominator. The numerator, what are we going to get there? 9 times 121. Okay. Now, the whole point in doing this was so that I could answer the denominator, and its answer is 11, and the numerator doesn't simplify. It stays like it is. Okay? Got to rationalize the denominator. Same thing in number 15. The denominator is 5x squared y to the fourth. Before we get started, can we simplify any of that? Is there anything in 15 that can be simplified?
8.
The 8 and the 2. So this could be 6. X to the, those two cancel with two of those. Okay? And what about the y's? Those 4 cancel with 4 of those, leaving me y to the fifth. So the only thing left in the denominator is the square root of 5. Makes it a whole lot easier if I can get rid of some of those variables. Now, is there anything in the numerator that can be simplified? Well, can you take the square root of 6? No. Can you take the square root of x to the 6? What will it be? Can you take the square root of y to the fifth? But you could break it down into the square root of y to the fifth times the square root of y to the fourth times the square root of 1, and you could get y squared out here. And then what's left is 6y over the square root of 5. What is it that I need to multiply by in order to get rid of? Okay, so we want this to be 25. So I'm going to multiply by 5. So we're going to get x cubed y squared square root of 30y over 5. X cubed y squared square root of 30y over 5. Questions? Okay. 16. Add if possible. Can you add those together on 16? They have to be the same under the radical, and you have to be taking the same root. So I'm taking the fourth root, and they both have 2x under there. If that's the same, you just do the math on the numbers that are outside of the radical, and you leave the radical parts alone. They just kind of act as variables. They don't change. You don't add 2x and 2x. You can't simplify it. So that answer is 8 times the fourth root of 2x. What about 17? Can you add those together? Not possible. Okay. Can you subtract the number 18? What do you get? Times the fourth root of 5a. Okay, 19. A garden has a width of square root of 13 and a length 7 square roots of 13. What is the perimeter? What's the perimeter? How do you find the perimeter? You add up all the sides. So 7 square roots of 13 plus 7 square roots of 13 plus the square root of 13 plus the square root of 13. And that gives me 14, 15, 16 square roots of 13. Okay? 20. Negative square root of 5 minus 3 times the square root of 36 plus 6 square roots of 5. What would be the first thing that you would simplify in number 20? Okay? So you've got negative 1 here, and you've got 6 of them over here, and together what does that give you? 5?
Would it be negative or positive?
Well, you got 6 positives and 1 negative, so it's going to be 5 square roots of 5. Now, what are you going to do with that part? What's the square root of 36? 6. So negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Okay, number 21. You can probably just put that one in your calculator. 20 to the 1/2 power times 20 to the 1/2 power. It's 20. You're going to add those exponents together. 1/2 and 1/2 is 1. So my answer here is 20. Now, 22, 3 to the 1/3 power times 9 to the 1/3 power. Answer here is 3. What about 23? 8 to the 4/3 power. 16. Any questions on that section?